Hello and welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me once again for another night of Facebook Live. Also, I just want to give thanks to those that joined me on the replay from our YouTube channel and or SoundCloud. It is indeed a blessing to be in the land of the living tonight. It's been a beautiful day, another beautiful day. 80-degree weather seemed like. I had to get out the house. I'm trying to transition into a different kind of normal. So I moved the kids from my house to back to their learning center location, and it has been quite an adjustment, even for me, just making the move to get out the house and get all the equipment going. Tonight we're going to talk about generational cycles. So tonight we're talking about generational cycles, and we know that these are behaviors or cycles of behaviors that are generational. So every generation is impacted. Some people like to call it curses, generational curses. But however we mention it, however we call it, just know that whatever generational cycle that is in your particular family or that you deal with or face with, is that these generational cycles can be broken. They can be broken. And they're broken by developing new habits. The things with generations is that we tend to pass down traditional things from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And when we neglect to find a new way to do an old thing, then that's what keeps the cycle going. And I mentioned before in a previous video that we do things not because we want to do the things that are wrong, but that we do it because sometimes that's all we know. So if we're in an environment where that environment practices the same behavior over and over again, we become victim to that environment. It's no different than a parent who curses a child and says ugly things to a child and downgrades a child. Usually that's all they know because it was passed down. That's what their mom did. And that's what their mom did. And that's what their mom did. So in a family of dysfunction, it is how they function. It is what they know to be right. It is what they know to how to parent. That's the way to parent. And so when we learn different, or when we become exposed to something different and a better way of doing things, then this is how those cycles begin to break. Okay, so I just want to bring to the forefront some of the generational cycles that I've noticed here in the culture that I live in. Some of the generational cycles that I see. First, generational cycles of criminal activity that leads to prison or to jail time. And whatever the behavior is that leads to prison is generational. Now, prison or being convicted and having to go to jail or serve jail time or prison time is just a result. Where the issue is in the behavior that leads up to that having to be penalized and to lose your freedom. So what behaviors can lead multiple people in the same family to have to be sentenced to jail time or prison? That's the problem, is the behavior. Not so much that now they're in prison or in jail or been convicted or sentenced, but it's the behavior. So how does that behavior change? That behavior change and that cycle breaks when they find a new, more productive, legal behavior. Because in the area where we live now, I think that it's in the past, it's been breaking the laws with illegal drug dealing and illegal activities such as also stealing and behaviors offset by addictions of some sort that cause some type of reaction. Domestic violence is another one, to where there was physical harm. Murder is another. So all these things, all these behaviors lead to jail time or prison time. And oftentimes if there's one in a family that takes this path, if it's a generational cycle, there are going to be multiples in the same family that follow that same pattern of behavior. Okay? Another one is incest. Incest is one of those generational cycles or one of those generational behaviors that none of us want to talk about. Incest is one of those hush-hush type of behaviors that we keep it swept under the rug. But how many of you know that anything that is hidden cannot be fixed? So if you refuse to talk about a situation, or if you continue to hide the behaviors, then this is what keeps the cycle going from generation to generation. I believe that exposing a thing brings closure and it cuts it off. But also, there are some ancestral acts that we fail to recognize as incest. I can't recall the number of people who have confided or to have a conversation in different settings or another to say that maybe they've been molested as a child, or they've been raped or touched. Now, one thing about it, as a child, you're only around family, close family and friends. So to me, that sounds like for someone to say, well, I was molested or I was raped or touched or misused as a child, then that sounds like incest to me. Because I don't know any mom in her right mind that's just going to throw her baby out to be violated by some grown person or by some relative or whatever another. So those are ancestral behaviors that go from generation to generation. And it's so shameful, and it's why a lot of families keep it hid. Nobody talks about it. So to me, if the behaviors are so common that 1 in 3 women can relate to being molested or being sexually violated as a child, then it seems to me that it's a conversation that needs to be had within our families and to break these generational cycles. Another generational cycle, which I already mentioned, is addiction. And I believe with the legalization of marijuana and other substances that have THC in it, that they can call marijuana, but it's really something else. But because they include THC in it, they can sell it to you legally, and they're experimenting. I believe that this is going to create more generational cycles. And not only that, I am a public educator, and I see a lot of kids from day to day becoming exposed to these substances. And it's more accessible to them now. So if grandma's using it and mom and dad is using it, and now a little 12, 13, 14-year-old child is using it, what do you think that's going to do for the next generation? Because this is all they see. They see the behavior from one person to the next, and these are people that they trust. We're their family. We're their educators. We're their preachers. We're their teachers. We're the people that they look up to. And when they see us do it, it's something in their mind that says it must be okay. This is the cool thing to do. So the cycle of addiction continues to grow and grow and grow from one member to the next member to the next member, and all down through generation. And then as a result, we have infants born, and as they are being born, they're born addicted. So do you see how the cycle continues? So how do we break that if this is all we know? If this is our environment? It's pretty hard. I can't expect a child to be responsible for breaking a cycle that his 60-year-old grandma or his 40-year-old mom or 30-year-old mom can't even break, when that's all they know, and they're born addicted, and they thrive it. They need it to function every day. So these are cycles of behaviors that, guys, we have to think about. What kind of legacy, what kind of tradition are we leaving for our family to follow? Because everything that seems right to a man can sometimes lead to destruction. We think it right because this is what we've always known. We learn to function in our dysfunction, and from generation to generation to generation, it imposes negative impacts upon our families. Another is mental health issues. Mental health issues can be generational. And the severity of it can also be generational. Severity of the mental health issues can be generational. So how do we fight generational mental health issues when that's something that we don't necessarily have control over? I think if I'm depressed and I set my house for an environment of depression, everything in my environment reflects that depression. And I say that because this is something that I suffered with in early years, is a deep depression. Not really recognizing at the time that that's what it was, but so severe that my house reflected everything that I was feeling on the inside, everything that I struggled with. And raising two young ladies in that environment, and now seeing them struggle with some of the same mental health issues that I had. See them struggle through depression and anxiety, and their perception of themselves, and how do we break this cycle when we don't even recognize that it's an issue? One thing that I can say Oklahoma had done well with is bringing mental health awareness and having therapists and counselors and mental health agencies more now than say it was generations before. Now there's not a lot of stigma attached to going to the counselor, going to therapy. When in our culture, generations past, and even in my time of coming up as a young woman, that was just something we didn't do. That was just something that our culture, we were against that. You'd almost have to be stone crazy and out your mind to have to see a therapist or a counselor or go to a mental health agency. But we've broken that stigma, especially here in Oklahoma. I don't know so much about the other states, but we've kind of broken that stigma now to where it's okay to recognize and realize that we have issues and a mental wellness that we need to keep in check. So I think with that being set in place, a lot of the cycles related to mental health can be broken, because now we have resources, and now there's awareness, and now we're more empowered to reach the help that we need to break that cycle. So think about the generational cycles that you've had to overcome in your families. What did it take to overcome those things? And what kind of new standards have you set for the generation that's coming after you? What kind of new standards have you set for the generation coming after you? Just because our family has been faced with a situation or a generational cycle that may be negative, some are not. There are cycles of all professionals, cycles of all entrepreneurs, all billionaires. Whatever the cycle is, think about it. Set the standard now. It's not too late to teach the young in your family how to build generational wealth, how to be business owners. Start shifting their mindset now, and it will make all the difference in the world in the times to come. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Tonight is the last night for you to get your name in our Mother's Day giveaway. And tonight, if you want your name in the Mother's Day giveaway, go ahead in the comment section and let me know why you choose to tune in with me on my Facebook Lives. Tell me in the comment section, why do you choose to join with me on the Facebook Lives? Because I know it takes a lot of sacrifice to be up at 10 o'clock at night. It's a lot of our bedtimes, and we have just made so many adjustments, guys, and I do appreciate you guys being with me. So this is the last time you can get your name in the Mother's Day giveaway. And not only that, I have three. So I'm going to draw 3 names, 3 different gifts, 3 different opportunities for you to win. So some of you have your name in it multiple times. So some of you can win 3 times. Who knows? I'm going to draw 3. Okay? And I asked the question earlier, what does lemonade, diamonds, and sleigh have in common? And what it have in common is that the 3 baskets that I put together for you guys are all themed. One of them its theme is it's time to drink lemonade. The other is theme she slayed. And the other one is diamonds are a girl's best friend. So 3 themes, all of them valued. I think the lemonade is valued at about $35. Then She Slayed is valued over $100. And then the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is valued at over $175. So some awesome gift giveaways. Just tell me tonight why you choose to sit and watch me on these Facebook Lives, and your name will be entered another chance to win one of those 3 wonderful baskets. All right, guys, I'll let you know who the winner is tomorrow night as you tune in to join me for another Facebook Lives. Have a good night, guys.